This is Gregory here, one of your hosts of the You're Too Valuable podcast. Wanted to welcome everyone in. And also, if you can't see and you're listening to us, we actually have a fantastic guest with us today. I can't wait for him to introduce himself. For those who can't see, he was waving it all at us. But I'll let the other hosts introduce themselves and then we'll let our guest introduce himself.
Hey y'all, it's Jesse. Glad to have you here again. Hope everyone is having a good day.
Hey everybody, it's Robbie. Hope everybody's had a good week. We got a really good topic to talk about today. One little quick little plug that I wanted to let you guys know is that we've actually expanded our platforms for you to listen in on. So you can actually listen in on iHeartRadio, Pandora, and
What?
SiriusXM apps. So, yep.
Whoa, look at us trying to
Yes.
get out there a little bit more.
Just trying to
Thanks, Robbie, for that.
grow
You did awesome
grow
work. I appreciate that.
grow grow the podcast. You know what I mean?
Yes. All right. So let's have our guest introduce himself. Go right ahead, guest. Who are you and what brings you on today?
I'm Justin. I have had a strong background in retail as well as hospitality. I worked for a company for 15 years that I grew up while I worked at that company, learned a lot, but there were some hard lessons that I had to learn. So I feel like this episode is kind of hitting home, and I'm very, very thankful to be a part of this conversation today.
Oh. I don't know if that sounds good or not, but I guess retail is always a little rough, isn't it?
As soon as you
Yeah.
hear the word,
We
now as soon as I hear retail, I'm like, never again.
Yes.
yeah. Well, we're glad you're here,
Retail is
Justin.
definitely.
Thanks for joining us today.
So this episode today, as Justin was kind of alluding to just a minute ago, is about burnout. I don't know about you or if anybody else has had any burnout. I don't. This is again one of those conversations I'm kind of not really familiar with in the HR world. We don't hear about
Shut
this
up.
word.
Shut up.
I mean, well, no, whatever. No, don't go there. And
Yeah, I have no idea what you are talking about. Burnout. What is this?
oh
Isn't
Yep.
isn't that just a buzzword or something? What can y'all
HR is
explain
going
to
to
me? What?
burn me out. I'm not going to be here
there's
next week, is
there's
what's going to
there's
happen.
there's that HR gaslighting that we all know about.
Whoa,
Oh, we got
I don't
another
know. Okay,
one.
who invited this guest on today? This is not good already. Not good already.
Two turned to
So,
three against one.
oh yes, three against one, not set of two. So somebody explain to me what's burnout. Explain that to me so I can understand, and our listeners can understand.
I'll give an example. So burnout is, I mean, it's a variety of different things, and it looks different for different people. People that are experiencing excessive amounts of burnout, it's pretty visible. You can see it in their face. You can see it in their behaviors. Just their actions at work. They may seem like a completely different person, and I will tell you that I've been there. So this is a really important topic for me to talk about too. I can tell you it got so bad for me at one point that I'd walk outside and it looks like it might rain today. I think I'm going to stay home. And it's
Wow, so that's all
yeah,
it
yeah.
takes is just a little bit of rain, huh?
Mm.
I mean, as a leader, you have flexibility in working remotely, working from the office, working out in the field, whatever the case is, right? So these are things that I would take into, like, do I want to bring my burnout to my people? And this is going to be the kind of the serious tone of the conversation that we go into a little bit later. But burnout can come in a variety of forms. People disengage, they isolate, they are going to get medications to keep themselves, just kosher while they're at work. There's a lot of different ways that we can look at it, but I don't know if Jesse or Justin have any other things that they'd like to describe burnout as.
um, Burnout to me, I consider you to be a lucky one if you are able to tell that you're actually having a burnout. Some people don't even recognize it because work can turn us into robots. can turn
Yeah.
us into robots, and we become so controlled that you don't even realize that you're on the brink of burnout. So if you're able to recognize it, cheers to you, because for others, it turns out that you have to step away and you don't have a choice.
Mhm. Yep.
Yeah,
Jesse, do you have anything for us?
it's funny when you could tell that the organization you may be working for decides to have a motivational meeting or boot camp, or let's bring everybody together and try to have some fun, because
Hmm.
they can tell productivity is down. People are having issues with each other in the workplace, um, and or a lot of call outs, not showing up for work, things like that. And so what's the solution? Let's have a motivational meeting or speaker come in and get everybody rah ha ha
Pizza
again.
party.
Hey, that
I
sounds
was
like a
just
good
about to
idea.
say, yeah, let's feed everybody, because that brings joy and excitement.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
does. It is
Nothing
actually
like
very
nothing like
expensive.
a little Caesar's pizza for the team. You know what I'm saying? We're going
Why
big.
do we
That's
always
it.
keep bringing up a pizza party? We've had this on I don't know how many times.
Because
Because
Again,
we
that's the
always have
go-to.
pizza.
That's just company go-to. It's like pizza party. Oh, we'll get y'all
no.
pizza.
It's not always just pizza. And remember, eight
Okay,
slices is
donuts.
not the max. It's 16 slices.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, and donuts too. Remember.
After
Oh
HR
yeah.
takes the pizza cutter to it in the back room is what happens.
No, we would never do. That's how it comes to us. I don't know what you're
Hmm.
talking about.
Hmm. Yep.
But
Yep.
definitely, also, like, it just, instead of, I think it breaks my soul, because when you just throw a band-aid on it, basically, through that, you're not addressing individual needs. And that's something I'll talk about a little bit later too.
Okay, good,
Yeah.
because I have no idea what that was, but go ahead.
Yeah. What I want to talk about is, you know, burnout has really impacted me in not only my professional life, but it impacted me in my personal life. It really started to kind of blend over. And it had impacts on my relationships with friends, with family, it really impacted me from a high level. And once I
Mhm,
realized that level of corporate manipulation, corporate uh, dusting it under the rug, things like that, making me
mhm,
gaslighting me into making me feel like I was the problem.
mhm. Oh,
It
mhm.
ultimately it took its toll on me, and
Yeah.
I took some time and I really thought to myself, and I really worked on myself, and I was like, wow, just the levels of pressure have been lifted off my shoulders. This is not what I want to do anymore. This isn't what I want to do anymore. Um, I want to bring joy. The one part of my job that I truly enjoyed, very similar topic to what Jesse's said before in the past, is I was all about my people. I wanted to develop my people and really help them navigate their career paths and really get them excited, helping people establish a decades long careers. And it's very strange, to say that there was a shift after the pandemic, and I think that really had a big impact on people as well. From a how to interact, how to incorporate back into professional life. Some of us continued business as usual, but there's a lot of things that really I can speak to from a personal perspective that I'm excited to get into during this episode.
Yeah.
Um, Justin, I'd like you to talk a little bit, and then we'll get some perspectives from all of us on what you've experienced before in the past. But can you talk about a time that you burned out to a point where you almost just broke, where you said, I'm heading up to the roof today. You know what I mean? Like that was the
Oh my gosh, we cannot talk about that on
and
these things. So don't
I
don't
mean,
say those things, Robbie.
and I appreciate that type of transparency because you don't want me to go into the topic of thoughts that you never say. But I'm looking at a year out from making the one of the biggest decisions in my life, stepping away from a career that I built and worked so hard for.
Ooh.
Mhm.
Um, I kind of mentioned earlier about not knowing that you're burned out and not being able to realize it. And unfortunately, I saw signs of it, but I didn't really know until it was there towards the end. I had a lot of personal things going on as well that kind of contributed to it. So it was really like an end all. I had to completely, I went to work one day and just said, I can't go back. I worked countless hours
Mhm.
with just being unappreciated,
Yeah.
fully dedicated. I'm a people person, so I always want to connect with the people. I want to be genuine, and in trying to do that and trying to achieve the goals of working for a corporate company, sometimes they just don't align, and who ends up hurt in the process? Us.
Yeah.
So Justin,
um,
can you share with our listeners and us, what are those kind of those breaking points that you had? What did you kind of feel? What did you say? Did you do anything? Was it messing with, as Robbie was saying, your home life, your personal life, or just your work? What would you say were some of the things you noticed?
Well, for starters, with work, you pull up to your job and you sit in the parking lot and you think, oh,
Do I
here we
keep
go,
drive? Do I
and
keep
then
driving for, or
right,
just
is this
take a
what I
road trip and start a whole new life, baby?
it is this what I want to be doing for the rest of my life? That was the first thing. I hated to
Yeah.
get to work right on time because I needed that moment to sit in the car, get my stuff in the game, try to figure out to focus. When you go into work and you're already anticipating everything that's going to go wrong instead of things that are going to go good, where you have to search for those moments where you genuinely feel fulfilled. That was kind of starting to be a clue to me. Agitation, things that I'm a person who likes to talk. I'm a person who I'm very easy to talk to, and I love conversation. I found myself being agitated with just a mere conversation, having to find out things about my associates, which I generally love to do. Those are some
Mhm.
smaller things at work, but then also personal home life, not being able to spend time with my nephew, and I provide care for my mother, and not being able to be fully present in that. And now that I look back, I'm like, I can't believe that I was able to last as long as I did, juggling and doing that with everything that was happening at my job.
Yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense. Well, thank you for sharing that. Um, Jesse, what are your thoughts on what Justin talked about? Would you say that you've experienced some of the same experiences? I know that you and I have had numerous, sidebar conversations about this very topic, and um, I'd
Yeah.
really like to get your perspective and what you've experienced.
Yeah, and one thing that, just knowing Justin personally, that, his work life had completely consumed him to the point that um, some personal issues were overridden by work. It took completely over, and I've had that happen to myself too, where I just am pouring myself so much into work and taking my computer home and working on stuff at night
Mhm.
and around the clock, that I've completely ignored issues in my personal life, and they got away
Yeah.
from me and got even worse. And I think
Mhm.
we all can attest to that in different situations that we've had. But
Mhm.
um, that's where I know a lot of us can be on the same page of, is that whatever jobs that we have taken and that we've applied to and gotten and stuff, we are dedicated people to those positions, and we started out very excited and big contributor and wanting to be that person that helped
Hmm.
better things in the workplace, who worked as hard,
Hmm.
the hardest out of anybody, and would rarely say no to something that needed to be done of extra. Um, but it took an emotional toll on us and affected our personal lives because we couldn't have. There's no way you can have a balance when you're doing that.
Wait, okay, so I have to interject. This is my HR. Justin, you know I have an HR mind and I have a personal mind. My HR mind comes on sometimes, my personal mind comes on, but I have to go and do this.
Two
So
Face.
there's oh whatever, it's not Two Face. So okay, I don't know how many times I've had to say this, and I have said this in episode after episode after episode. You have to set your own boundaries on your own work. You have to create a work life balance. And
If you
listening
don't want to get
to both
fired,
Justin and
Yep.
no, get fired. Justin and Jesse, both of you, both were talking about having,
Go ahead and set
there's no
boundaries with your
boundaries
boss
and
tomorrow for me, Greg.
no,
yeah,
Robbie,
Just,
let
just
me finish. Let me finish.
I
okay.
was
Okay.
about to say,
Uh,
because you know what, I feel like that is a fairy tale in a lot of ways.
no, it is
That's
not a
that
fairy
it is.
tale.
It is because
Yeah.
it really it depends on what type of job that you work and the need that and the level that you're needed. So
Hmm.
saying simply work life balance is
Hmm.
it's more complicated than what comes from an HR standpoint.
So,
And see,
Gregory,
I don't see that. I don't see it.
here's a perspective. So, typically, let's talk about onboarding new employees. So, you get an onboarded new class, and first couple of days introductions, and then we get to kind of like where to find company policies and procedures. If
Hmm.
if there wanted to be a balance between protecting the company and protecting the employees, Greg, here's my perspective. HR should create a platform where the company and the employees establish boundaries at the beginning of the employment.
What
So
do you mean by
what
that?
I what so it's not just a one-sided direction of these are the policies that you have to follow if you want to work here. There
Hmm.
should also, on the flip side of that, be the engagement from the employees where they say, I want to work here, but these are my conditions.
Isn't that
Respectful.
something that you should be doing in the interview process to make sure that you're setting up that and not just being a yes person so
When
that way
was the
you get
last?
the job?
When's the?
yeah.
Well, that's talking about pay. I mean, what's an interview? We spend hours, sometimes days, going over corporate policies and how to access standard operating procedures and what's going to get you fired, what's not going to get you fired. So here's my perspective: employees should
No.
have a two-way conversation at that time, and I think
Okay.
that companies should really implement something like that.
Yeah, I would agree with that. And I'm not trying to downplay both what Justin and Jesse both said, but I think if they had that conversation to begin with, it made them make things life easier. I don't know. I definitely would like to have that conversation to
Well,
say
it'd be
would that
nice.
actually make it better or not.
It would be nice if the company that you're applying to actually initiated that conversation, because I'm not going to have that conversation right out the bat because I've been applying to hundreds of jobs, finally got an interview, and now I'm sitting in front of a person that, I got to say whatever I need to say to get the job because I need the job. And if they would initiate that side of it, then that would be a little bit more, you know, it would help things out, I think.
And and I feel like too, Greg, having that mentality with you coming from an HR standpoint, you really don't understand the amount of internal conflict that is pushed upon people by the demand that the job is saying that you have to commit to, and also you need to rest and take time for yourself. Sometimes
Mhm.
those two things do not go hand in hand. So while that's what the
And even
handbook
even
says,
if
and
even I'm sorry, Justin, keep going.
no, 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 no. I mean, just even even just because that's what the portion of the culture is, or what's written or what's publicized. Sometimes the demand on the job does not give you that. So yes, you're going to say
Yeah.
yes to step into a role and take the job because you can do the job, but also there are some things that are unrealistic. And
Hmm.
for some jobs, some of that is unrealistic, and people can channel it different, and it comes out in different ways.
Yes.
But it can be a double edged sword having that type of conversation.
And God forbid the company gives you a corporate paid phone. Woo! Let me tell you what, baby. That thing is
Or
coming with you everywhere you go. You're on your way
um,
to the Himalayan mountains? No problem. Just bring your
We
work
would
phone. Make
love
sure to
to
check your
reimburse
calendar every
yes.
you.
morning.
Now
PTO.
make sure you get some rest. Oh, but did you make sure that Susie was scheduled at 3 o'clock instead of
Yep.
5? I thought you
Paid
told me to
time
get some
off.
rest.
Kinda. Paid time off. Kinda.
Yeah, yeah. No, that's see. Okay, the I this is where I now, Justin. I have to tell you, I'm not familiar with retail environment, uh, in
We
a very
started
deep
out in
sense.
retail, Greg.
I
What you
do.
talking about,
I was going
fella?
to
I'm
say,
talking about
yeah,
HR. I've done a
you
little
have
bit of
some
HR
retail
retail,
experience.
Oh,
but
all right,
okay,
all right, all right.
just a little bit, not that much, and I definitely I appreciate all my retail friends out there because you guys do some really good work. I couldn't do it. I won't do it, and or at least I will try to never do it. That's not me. So props to all of you retail folks because I mean it's August. At least that's when we're recording this, and so I'm sure holiday stuff is already coming out in retail world, and that's just crazy.
Jingle
Anyways,
bells.
yeah, no, okay, but to me, it's people always come up with these like saying that they have unrealistic goals and things are changing constantly and all of it's happening and I just have to be constantly on it or I'm not going to get where I need to go. But can you not say no? Are you not allowed to say no? And I think that can overwhelm people a
You
lot where it
can.
makes it sort of, oh yeah, yeah.
You
Let me
can.
finish. Let me
Go ahead.
finish. You're not letting me finish today. it's it does not allow you. You have to be able to say no and you know put that proverbial foot down and say I need to. Oh, Robbie, if you're not watching us, Robbie's making this weird face on here, and he's being a child,
I was
at
just putting
least
my
in
I
my
was putting my,
opinion.
my Batman mask on.
Oh yeah, yeah, no, no,
Kind of
no.
like HR. I'm
But
Batman.
then you have those people who go way above and beyond and become those overachievers once you get there and that becomes the norm,
Hmm.
don't you think?
Hmm. Yeah,
Yeah, I mean,
absolutely.
you're not wrong. But here's the problem, Greg. Is I think that so leadership from a certain level. So I'm gonna say C-suite, exec level leaders. I think that they schmoozy up to HR to be able to kind of get away with doing things when nobody's looking.
Oh
Uh,
yeah, yeah, schmoozing up to HR, that's hilarious.
I mean,
I would love to
realistically,
know what you're talking about that.
you're
No,
telling me that retaliation doesn't happen in the workplace if you set boundaries? Greg, you're delusional if you think that's the case. You've
Ooh,
got goggles on.
delusional.
hallelujah.
Hmm.
Wow. Okay, nope, nope. Okay, I'm not going to comment on any of
Well,
that.
I
I'm
mean,
just going
Greg,
to allow you guys to
in
vent.
it's
I,
not an attack on HR, but it's just the reality. I was having a conversation with a friend the other day, and it was a political conversation. And I was really like, you know what, I really don't even want to be having this conversation. But it's kind of like, are we gonna talk about what looks good on paper, or are we gonna talk about the reality?
Hmm.
And I think that it's just the reality of it. HR is always going to have their pillars and what they stand on, but it's backwards, and that's just the
Hmm.
way that it is, and that's the way that it's going to be.
yeah, there's like the written rules and then the unwritten rules. And
Right.
I think if you've been working long enough, you have a pretty good and especially if you've experienced burnout, like Justin said, if it's your first time, it's kind of like coming to terms with childhood trauma. But
Yes.
it's when it happens, you start to like guard yourself, and you start to make yourself equipped to understand, okay, so the law is this, HR's policy is that, and if I do that, my manager is gonna make my life a living hell. Okay, got it. And that's how it works. And it happens for, I bet you we could bring on thousands of guests, and they would all have this very conversation.
What are you thinking,
Because
Greg?
they feel it.
Okay, thing. I'm trying to put it into
I
words
see
here.
the frustration.
Yes, I'm frustrated because it. You also have to take ownership and responsibility of your actions to yourself as well. If you're not putting,
Sure.
and again, this is going to putting your foot down, making those boundaries, setting yourself up for success. Take ownership of it. Allow yourself to take a break. We at work, we have your EAP that you can go and use your employee assistance program. We've got
Band-Aid,
things that you
The
can.
yeah.
most
If you have suicidal
underutilized.
thoughts from work, please call
So they
your
can take
EAP,
notes about you and
so
know
that way we
all
have an
notes
No,
that you
insurance
don't
no,
want them to
policy to
okay.
know.
protect the company from any liability. Thank you.
No,
Send it in an
no.
email so we have it in document, and we'll see you next week.
Okay, all right. So these programs are there for you to help out with burnout or whatever we're talking about today, and you have to utilize those because if you don't, yes, you can become overwhelmed. And I myself have done it. I've been overwhelmed. I've been burned out, and I take ownership of it. It's my fault. I allowed my boss, my company, myself to become that way, and I had to set boundaries. And okay, I will give it to you. I will give it to you, all three of you. It can be difficult. It can be troublesome at times, but it's still something that you've got to do because if you don't, you're gonna be just like Justin and just sit in the car and be like, I don't want to sit here. Or I want to keep going. Bobby just said, "Hey, I'm leaving here and I'm going on. Starting a whole new life." But there's other ways that you can do
Well,
it. I mean, how would you say that you would? How would you be able to cope with it? With humor?
Me or
Either one of
Justin?
you.
So you listen. I'm gonna say this. People are scared. People are
mm,
terrified,
mhm,
especially in an economy like this. They're probably already living paycheck to paycheck because the company's underpaying them. They're probably doing twice the work than they were 10 years ago and feel like their money's going nowhere near as far as it did then. And people don't know what's the next thing if they lose a job, especially in a job market like this, where, I mean, there's social media platforms, there's entire sections and subcategories dedicated to people talking about applying to thousands of jobs and never getting a response. So they
mhm.
just kind of go with the grain because we've never been given that type of training on how to protect ourselves. It's always been training on what we need to do to obey the company's rules and to make sure that we stay in line to prevent any sort of, and it's always about the company. So, Greg, yes, the EAP I've taken advantage of 100%. I've
Thank you.
utilized it for the better part of a decade without question, and I used
I
all my
appreciate
and
that.
I still exceeded, but it's a band-aid because
Hmm.
it's not resolving the problem, it's numbing you to the problem.
Hmm.
And
I don't get that.
it's
I don't think
it's
that's true.
Because
you
HR
don't.
isn't directly addressing it. You're shoving them away to go to EAP instead of having honest and truthful conversations with people and trying to come up with what solution can happen so that they're not just being shoved to this program that's supposed to change the entire course of their thinking when it's the workplace that's the problem. It's not the person.
So,
And
Justin, can you tell me how would you cope with it? How would you cope with it being at work?
um, or some of the things that I did to cope with
Yes.
trying to get through it.
Yes.
Hmm.
Bonding with associates on a deeper level on a deep level that were 4 or 5 levels down from me. I would sit and have serious conversations with an hourly cashier when I was the store manager, and have deep conversations about the stressors of life and different things like that. So that was my way of giving myself therapy while helping them as well, communicating. That was probably the only refuge I felt that I had in my last career, was the connection with people, and being able to talk and share that, hey, I understand what you're going through, but because I can tell you that I'm going through this, and having that transparency.
Okay, is that professional to have that kind of interaction with an associate
I
like that?
I think it is very professional, because you're not crossing a line or any boundaries of anything that's, you know, uh, inappropriate. You're just having a conversation, and that's a part of the problem with HR too, is you not wanting to have that conversation to understand what's going on with your associates.
No, I want to have that conversation that's going on with my people, or that is going on with my workforce. You've got to come to me. I'm not out there. I can't see everyone at once. And
I don't
Justin,
agree with that.
Jesse, and Robbie, who are in the leadership roles, you have that smaller connectivity that somebody in human resources or people ops doesn't have, that they can't go out there and do that to you.
Well, your
So
And
ass
five
isn't
minutes
glued
later,
to
and,
your
and
chair,
you're
so
getting
get
a
up and
phone
go
call.
out.
You're getting
And
a
and
phone call 5 minutes later from your supervisor that, hey, just wanted to check in with you to see, because the HR has already picked up the phone and called the supervisor and
I
not
had
kept the
so and so in
conversation
my office
confidential.
today.
but I feel like too, and we're laughing, and we have been through some harsh situations, so yes, it's going to be some emotion behind that. But also, what makes a difference, Greg, and I think with you too, is that you are a kind of person that sees people and understands different things, but everybody is not you. And you can absolutely have an encounter with one person that completely changes your life, or the way that you feel about something, that really
agree.
works to do what the bylaws say, versus somebody else just turning into a robot, just speaking it just to do their job. So I do feel like that you feel that way, and that you would probably go the extra mile or get to know people, as versus everybody is not like that. So it is kind of harsh to put a blanket statement on it, but it is a common stigma that HR is for the company and not for the people.
Yeah. And a lot of time, I personally burned out because I've told some stories from previous on previous episodes that, I've like put my head down, been the corporate guy, been the person that everybody referred to as their person at that company, because they'd known I, what was with my company, and I was so good at my job. What I'll tell you is, it got to the point where I started taking on more responsibility to demonstrate the level of expertise that I got, and then I got burned for it, and I got punished for it, and um, I never got compensated for the additional work that I did. But if I need a little bit extra time to myself to I mean, some people in leadership roles, their phone can ring 24 hours a day.
Yeah, yeah.
It's
Well, I've seen that.
and
I've seen it.
I
Heard of it.
Hmm.
I was pretty damn close to that type of phone call schedule. It felt like by the time I got home, I couldn't even sleep before I was getting phone calls. And it's just your phone's going off 10, 11 o'clock at night. Ding, ding, ding. I want people to think about the psychological effect of just having a work cell phone. Just the ringtone itself, or the text tone itself, I would start getting like cold sweats. I'd be like, "Fuck, what
Hey, mine
if?"
was Group Me. Hearing the sounds from Group Me, as soon as I could delete that off of my phone, it yeah, not a good thing.
Dang, Justin, it looks like you have a little bit of PTSD
Yeah,
flashback
yeah,
over there
I
thinking
did,
about it.
because as soon as he starts saying it, I started thinking, I just, like I said earlier, I can't believe I was going through that. I can't.
Well,
Wow.
I think it's good topics. Greg, what do you got to close us out on burnout triggers before we kind of move on?
I don't know. I think it's you have to learn and look at the inside and look to yourself. And this whole I don't mean to say it this way because I know y'all gonna rag on me and dog on me about this. You have to look internally. It's not always about HR. It's not always about the
Right.
company. It's not always about culture. Look at yourself too. So that's the only thing I can say. And I'm going to close with that. That's all I'm done with this topic. Robbie, where are we going from here? Because
Love you, Greg. Love you,
I
Greg.
know you are about to go off on me.
Nah.
Yeah. So, Jesse, I want to talk a little bit about coping mechanisms,
Mhm.
and what you did personally to have those not so humorous just strategies for your day, just to keep you going,
Mhm.
especially towards the end. I really want to get a good idea of what your mantra was. What did
Towards
you
the
do to
end. You
Uh,
sound like it's like, oh boy.
no, like
I just
we've talked, no,
towards
no, no,
the
no, no, no,
end.
to towards the end of like burnout experiences is what I meant. I apologize for not
mhm.
Okay,
clarifying that.
okay. Thank you. I appreciate that.
No, I mean, definitely manifested into, some self destruction of procrastination, negative self talk, and, some sabotaging of people above me because I wanted to get a vengeance on the, what I believe was the reason for me getting burnt out, and especially when getting thrown a bunch of things and being just completely overwhelmed, or many times in senior level positions, my boss being so overwhelmed themselves, I don't even have anybody that I can reach out to because they're so overwhelmed that it's taking them a long time to get back to me. By then, the issue that I was having, I've already moved on from it, and now there's something else that I have at hand, and they don't have the time to want to sit down and talk about it, or come up with issues. Or I've also had when I've came to address some issues, either, well, that's just how it is, or you're fired because we don't want to deal with you
Mhm.
anymore because you're bringing up too many things about our organization, and you're poking your nose where it doesn't belong, and we believe that's cause for termination.
Yeah. It's pretty wild, Justin. I'd like to know. You kind of talked about some of the coping mechanisms, but I'm sure that there were some things that you kind of just started to go through the motions to really just get yourself by.
Mhm.
Maybe not exerting the level of effort when you were ultra motivated to demonstrate your level of efficiency and preparedness to go into a new role, or to apply for a new role. What
Right.
what would you say are some of the things that you did to just get through your day?
Um, I would say building, staying connected with that false sense of hope, and I say false sense because you definitely had to be in the in crowd to be accepted a certain way to be able to move to the next step. But just say, hey, if I just keep doing this, I'm going to get my own store. You know what? This is what it's going to take today. You know what? I'm going to have to stay here till I came in at 7. You know what? And I'm going to be here until 11:30 tonight because I want to be seen as the best manager, so that when it comes time for that store to come open, I'll be selected. So, you know, overworking yourself, doing more than what is called, just to make sure that you're among the top pick.
Yeah.
And let's just face it, there are some people that have to do that in the workplace. Sometimes you have to work harder if you don't look a certain way or doesn't appear a certain way, or you don't belong to this type of group of people. You know what I mean? So,
Yeah. Yeah.
um, so just giving myself that false sense of hope. Um, Outside of work, indulging in things that weren't so good for my health. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Food, different,
Looking to
just
Friday
things.
night happy hour.
Yeah, absolutely.
Hey,
And
there's
and
there's
and
happy hours at work too. Can't you? I mean, not too much, but there's still happy hours, not just pizza parties. Sorry, Justin, didn't mean to interrupt you there.
and then just it took a consolation to my family of, hey, I'm sorry, I gotta work late, but this is what's gonna get us, hey, we got this house, I gotta pay for this. So, hey, you know what? I'm not gonna be able to make it home until late tonight. Y'all go ahead
Mhm.
and eat, but this is what I gotta do to get to the next level. This is what I gotta do. So not only are you overcompensating at work, you're subtracting something from your personal life as well too.
Okay,
Yeah.
I'm really glad that that you brought that up of like having those really negative interactions with your home life. I have had lots and lots of conversations where people even in senior leadership positions that have like I have to just break myself away from work because my significant other is getting very angry at me, or my kids. I'm not going to see any of my kids like plays or go into their soccer game or their football game or whatever. And you're like, I've got to work. I, this is again, your work is going to be there. Now, I know for retail it's completely different because you're there a lot and you're there for you on call a lot. And again, I can't say that all the time for corporate because haven't done I mean for retail because I haven't been actually in like a retail environment setting per se for HR.
Hmm.
And so I have to say is allow yourself to give you that break and allow yourself to take that. And I don't know how many times I have to say it, just set your boundaries.
Oh yeah, with the
Yeah.
you know
lovely,
Uh,
generous 2 weeks of vacation I get when I've been doing the same position for 10 years, but I switch companies, and
yeah.
because I'm new to the company, I still only get 2 weeks of
Hmm.
vacation.
Hmm.
Cool.
Yeah. I'm going to tell you that
Hey,
leadership may say that they'll follow that same mindset, Greg. But I'm going to tell you from
salty,
a C level suite.
salty.
Yeah, it got so bad for me that I started like checking off how everything was just stockpiling and mountaining and just growing this big pile of burnout on my shoulders. And it just got to a point where I said, I'm fucking done. I'm done. For my own personal well being, my personal mental health, for my life, I'm done. And this is what I coach people in the workplace now. And guess what? Some of the conversations I'm having are this very fucking conversation. And it's
Oh my,
a
watch
lot.
your language just a
Man,
second.
oh, you poor thing.
you, when you walk into work and I had gotten so bad that you walk into work and you're talking to someone and you have to walk away from them because you're breaking down crying. Like,
Happened to
Yeah,
me.
that's definitely bad.
you
I would agree
you
with that.
you have such a drive in you to want to perform well and want to follow through with what the company wants you to follow through with, and you
Hmm.
want to be among that. But you get so drowned out that you can't see further any longer.
So earlier, Justin, you were talking about how I'm trying to think about what you said is you wanted to be that go-to person, and I think Robbie even was shaking his head yes for those who can't see us of trying to be that overachiever. Sorry, I don't know if that's the proper word to say, but that go-getter
Yeah,
and that person that wants to be the person that everybody looks to. I mean, do you think that's wrong? Do you think you got punished for it? Or do you think
I like
you got burned out too much?
I like
well,
how Greg could get. I like how Greg changed it from overachiever so he could give us meets on our annual performance review at the end of the year to save the company some money. All right, Justin, go ahead, fella.
um, I feel like your punishment comes in a different kind of way because when you become that person, then you get more and you do more because Justin can do it. Justin is the one that can do this because he can maintain that attitude and talk to us and be able to tour and do all of this and not convey everything that's truly going on because you are shooting to try to get that next job. So yes, you do overachieve, but it doesn't necessarily come as a punishment that's to your face. It's a punishment with giving you more work, holding you to higher expectations than everyone else, not expecting you to get it done. More becomes your issue versus other
Mhm.
people that are around you. So yes, there is a certain punishment, not directly, but indirectly there is a punishment.
And everything that you see about companies right now is that large corporations, despite their profit margins, regardless of their revenue streams, regardless of their year over year performances, they're still laying people off in mass. So there's this really just this sense of what happens if I push the buck too much? I need this job because I don't have the same protections as pretty much every other worker in the developed world. It's it, I have to center my life around this job specifically. If I get if I want to have a baby, there's no guarantees that I'm going to be able to take any time with that child. I mean, there's so many different things that contribute that it's just not. It's tending to the companies need to make profits. We've had this conversation before, Greg, and what I'll
I
say
agree.
is we've had the conversation where we talk about companies are overworking their people. The 40-hour work week is outdated. It's so outdated.
40
And
hours. Huh.
yeah, I mean, that's yeah, shit. Uh, you, Working in the level that I did, half of the job was slapping backs and just shooting the shit with other leaders just to show face. Like, why are we? I get the camaraderie piece, but does it have to be that much? And people
Yep.
just feel like they're dedicating their lives and they're barely getting by, and this sucks. And just get me to Friday at 5:30 so I can head down to the local saloon and get myself a couple of end of week stress drinks with some friends to
Ended with
mask
stress
this
drinks.
fucking this burnout issue that I'm experiencing in life. So,
Okay, so
it's
I want to. I've got to. I, I'm annoyed. So
I
now I
know.
want to move forward, and I'm very very annoyed. And so now I want to know,
That's why
apart
I'm here.
from apart from, oh, I'm so annoyed with some of these things you are saying, and it just it. I want to know, what have you done to make it better? What have you done to survive burnout? And what are your plans are? And you all three, I would like to hear from all three of you how you've done that. And then I'm going to talk about what I would suggest as an HR person. But I want to hear your stories. Justin, let me
Go
know
ahead.
what would you do to survive burnout? I know we were talking about other things, but in the long run.
Well, I think that you absolutely have to get to a moment where you're severely burned out to know how you're going to deal with it in the next realm, or in your next career or something. Knowing what I know now, I would definitely wouldn't be putting that much forward that I gave back then. I would definitely take more time with my family. I would focus on spending more time with my family. I wouldn't be that overachiever. I
Mm.
wouldn't go that far because I would set those boundaries. So you kind of have to go through it to know. Like I said, being a yes man earlier, and you know,
Mhm.
trying to fight to get that promotion or trying to be the one that shines. I'm merely these days, even in my current career, I said these words to somebody the other day, and I can't believe I said it. They were wanting somebody to go drive to these other branches and work and do different things, and I said, I was a yes man in my previous career. I'm just not doing that now anymore. I'm not doing it.
And we
Setting up that boundary.
Which,
Thank
but,
you. That
but,
validates what I have been
but,
saying. Thank you,
but,
Justin.
but, after that rolled off my tongue, I felt good because I was able to do that. But I'm like, wow, look what it took to get me to be able to do that.
Mm,
yep.
okay.
And I
Look,
and I
because
can go ahead, Justin. Sorry
what
about that.
because I'm just not that kind of person. I'm definitely like attack the job, let's get it done, want to do it correctly. So it's definitely changed the way that I will view working for the rest of my life.
Mhm. What I was gonna say was, I've been experienced burnout. I gave some examples, but once I fully experienced it and understood what that looked like, I saw it when I would go do people visits, when I would go visit my people throughout, different regions and different territories, and I could spot the people in the room that were experiencing burnout. It was easy for me to notice because my job as a, a leader in that type of position was to observe employee behavior.
Mhm.
So when people changed entirely and they weren't the same person that I met previously, and you could obviously see impacts in their performance and impacts in their relationships at work and how their supervisors were describing them, and then you'd come in to do visits to kind of see what would be causing something like that. And yeah, you can address those as a leader in a single location type situation, but what about the people that have to go to, the same C level executives, same vice presidents, same VPs, general managers, anything like that? Just imagine they've been in that same position for 15, 20 years. That person's not changing. Like they don't even know of like 40% of the people's names in their direct, umbrella. They don't care. Like, we're just a
Mm.
number. And there is no human element there. They're the ones that are dictating these policies with leaders in human resources. Some companies are structured to have a full HR person sitting at their at their boardroom tables. So, and those people are
Mhm.
disconnected from reality. They're taking they may have worked their way up the ladder, but what's going on today is far different than what was going on back when they were in the same position that the people that they're leading are in now. And
Okay,
they
Robbie,
don't make an effort.
I'm gonna roll you in here a little bit. So, what have you done to survive burnout? What have you done to allow yourself to get
I
better
fucking
and to
quit.
well,
I quit.
wow, well, that's all.
I fucking
Bye.
Greg, I told you I fucking walked out that shit.
Oh,
Yes, I'm out. I'm outie. Thanks for the
So that's
thanks
all.
for the
That's your
kick.
answer. But I mean, Jesse was just saying earlier. I think it was Jesse that
I work more now. I
there's
work more now for myself than I did for that company, and I am so much happier. It's insane. It's insane how, like, the level of, that's why we started this podcast. And having these
oh yeah.
conversations is like group therapy. It's like
So
a
it is. It
Narcotics
really
Anonymous
is.
meeting or an
It really
Alcoholics
is.
Anonymous meeting, and we're all coming to terms with our our recovery, if that makes sense. So anyway,
And
oh
sorry.
yeah
and
yeah.
and you know what the ultimate, you know, when I look in the mirror and I think about it all, ultimately I say, wow, I allowed it to happen.
Mhm.
Mhm.
I allowed it. I worked there through all those years. I felt like I had to do this because of my stance as a man to survive in America and own that house and drive that
Mhm.
car and do all this stuff. I put myself out there to be in that situation. So it's never a full blame on the company. I feel like
Right.
they could do companies could do a lot better and could do more for associates. But we do play a part in allowing that to happen to ourselves.
Validation number two for Gregory. Thank you, Jesse. I want to know what you've done other than like Robbie. Oh, I just quit.
I think
I'm
good
coming, Greg.
tool,
Oh,
a good tool that people can learn is managing up to their leaders, to their bosses.
oh,
Um,
very very good point. Thank you, Jesse.
as much as they think that they're witty in what they're doing, like Justin said, asking him to go to all these other places and stuff, because what they did was, oh, I have this problem, Justin's my solution, and that's the route I'm going.
Mm-hmm.
No, it's like it's like go back to the drawing board. Let's see how differently we can do that. What other resources are out there that we can utilize or shift around, and what other people in the company as well need to be developed and could use that. Where the bosses and leaders are just going to their all-star employees and leaving quote unquote who they think is not doing their job right and not doing a great job, and they're just waiting for them to quit. And no, spend some time trying to develop that person so that they can be your solution to whatever issue you're trying to, instead of passing it along to the yes person in the organization. Have some some realization of what you're actually trying to accomplish, but make it more of a developmental way of thinking. and and so managing up for sure, um and then also having a more of a personal relationship with that. I know Greg doesn't think that that's very professional to be talking about personal matters, but that's
I never
makes you,
said that.
well,
I
that's
never said that. I just asked if he thought it was professional.
okay. Well,
All right.
that's how
Yeah.
it came across.
As Greg listens in with his ear hustling, and as he's documenting everything from the corner like a creepo behind the bushes.
I have a little notepad over here that I've been taking notes for later.
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
Yeah. So, Jesse, I think that's a really really good point to bring, and something that I would advise people get used to saying and really understanding is you don't have to be mistreated in the workplace, and
No.
sometimes your supervisors may be inexperienced. They may have a lack of education on how to bring out the best in people. Their experience in getting people is just telling people to do something once, and then second time it's full out yelling and cussing, and because they have a temper problem and they don't know how to manage their own emotions in the workplace.
Mm-hmm.
You can
Exactly.
always respond with, I respond to professional requests. What I don't respond to is disrespect. And
Okay. I'm gonna interrupt Robbie there. Okay. Out of everything that I have said here today, I do want to point out that corporations, leadership, jobs, SLT, executive team, whatever you want to say it, HR, I'll blame myself, is yes, we also do have a little bit of that responsibility too. I will say that. And listening to the three of you,
was that
I think,
accountability from HR?
oh, it's a little bit of accountability for me. No, I'm just joking. Yes,
Okay.
it is very much accountability from HR. And as somebody who's trying to grow up into a more leadership role, these are things that I want to take with us, and that I want to listen to and understand better, and figure out how this can go to get better. Because I think we all have had instances which we've all heard about it here, but our listeners and everything have had issues and instances where we were burnt out, and I think that that's something that corporations definitely need to listen to as well. And I meant, I yes, you have your FMLA to use, and you might have a state leave that's approved, and then I know you're all going to be like, well, if I take a leave, then the company is going to get mad at me for this and blah blah blah. Well, that's sad on the business part itself. But yes, I think corporations still do need to take a little bit of responsibility for it as well, because it is two sided. It is both sides. It's a
Something needs to be changed, and I think that it
agree.
would be very beneficial to implement like a high school class requirement in like junior and senior year of high school.
I like
You
how
know what I
Justin just
mean?
chuckling behiin there because
Cause
that's how.
because Robbie's like, "Arr."
Listen. Greg and I argue all the time. I think that's kind of the, one of the big premises of this show. We love each other. We talk shit to each other. Where our conversations off this top, like we just don't talk about this in our personal lives, other than for the business. Otherwise, we're joking around and having a good time.
Almost like
But I do,
politics.
yeah. Oh yeah,
Mhm.
for sure. um, Needless to say, I do think that we can get better. And how do we
Yeah.
address it?
Okay.
I do think that, implementing like a course requirement in even just senior year of high school, or, just you have to take it at least 1 year in high school to really get a good understanding of what your boundaries can be in the workplace. These are things that really
Mm.
would empower people, but that's not what our system is built for. Our system is built to create workers that put their heads down and produce large amounts of profit at the least amount
Yep.
of cost possible. And we don't want you thinking we don't. That's the way that our system has always been designed. And these are things that we have no lessons on as the working class. We have to learn them from experiencing burnout, from experiencing troubles in the workplace with no real understanding of how to navigate that. We're just told, get ready to go to work, and
Yeah.
you graduate and hit the job market, and that's it. You know what I mean? So that's my
Yeah.
perspective, Greg.
And I think it also, you know, the what you guys were talking about is, leaving and quitting. There's no problem with that. If it's not good for you at that time, leave and know yourself. It's or tell yourself it's okay. Yeah, you may need to find another position at the time. You can't afford it at that time. That's everybody. We've all had that problem. But eventually, try to get yourself some help and deal with it. Don't suffer. That's the only thing I can tell you to. Don't suffer.
Mhm.
You have one life. Life's too short. You have one family. You know, enjoy that.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, we're gonna be, getting close to wrapping up, but I want to get, everybody's perspective on signs of what burnout actually looks like, and that you're actually experiencing some symptoms of burnout in the workplace, so people can be cognizant and they can start addressing it, so it doesn't hit them like a brick wall, like it does so many people, because they don't
Mhm.
understand what's happening. So I'm gonna start off with Greg. I know you probably have people come into your office and bring some things up. I'm sure you've experienced things in your past.
Yeah.
Despite you putting on your HR hat for this show, I know you have. So I'd
Yeah.
like to know, from your perspective, that human side that we talked about.
For
Um,
sure.
what are some signs?
So a lot of signs these days, and this is becoming very prevalent because it's becoming more and more socially acceptable, and that is your mental state, your mental mind, becoming too stressed, having a stressful situation, or not allowing yourself to be able to sleep at night, or not having that time with your family, your friends, your significant other, as I was talking to you. Those are the things that you need to start worried about is looking at for you. And Robbie, thank you for bringing that up, because I think this is a thing that people are just too scared of to even think about or talk about or listen to themselves. But listen to your body.
Mhm.
I'm not a doctor, but listen to it. Your body can tell you when you're too much, when you're stressed too much, when you're having when having nightmares. I myself have very bad nightmares when I know I'm really stressed at work and I can't sleep all that well. So, listen to yourself, listen to your body, and just
Mhm.
allow yourself to concentrate on yourself and your family and your life.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I
Jesse,
think
what are your
for
thoughts? And then I'll take it to Justin. Go. Sorry about that, Jesse. Go ahead.
I think a good place to start is in the interview, especially when you're in front of your who's going to be your direct report and your direct um, boss. that you're going to be dealing with the most, ask them questions that can give you a viewpoint on who this person may be and what their management style is going to be. Um, and to also know the current state of the organization that you're walking into. Are we severely short staffed? Are we severely under budget? Are what stressors are already in the workplace that are going on that could contribute to burnout in the future, and use that time to really dig around and see what they're facing as a company, so that if you do move forward and take the job, you at least know what you're walking into.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Very good point,
Yep.
Jesse. Very, very good point.
Justin, what are some signs that you experienced that really kind of just it gave you just a full coming to the realization moment that this is burnout. Like this is something that I need to fix like fast.
Um, having a starting to have a negative mentality about multiple things in the workplace and multiple people, starting to feel like that multiple people were against you, kind of like, you build self enemies when you're in fight or flight mode like that. So I started to feel like, oh, this person's watching me this way, oh, this person's going to come in and look to say something bad so that I can, get written up, or, so you really begin to see, life through negative goggles. Everything becomes negative. And then
Yeah.
also you're overcritical when people critique you or say different things, because you become
Yeah.
so used to working and cranking out, that when somebody says something negative to you, you take it extremely wrong,
Right.
um, because you're in shutdown mode.
Mm-hmm.
Hmm.
Yeah. No, and I
Wow.
what I'll say, I think that's something that I've experienced as well. And I think it's so important for leaders to pay attention to these things. And this is going to be some tips for companies. Train your people on how to create that environment
Hmm.
of uh,
Yes. Yes. Yes.
two-way
Yes.
conversations. Train your people on it's creating an environment where people feel like they're involved in conversations and not being talked at. If it's just constantly PowerPoints where things are being pointed out, negative things are being pointed out, from a leader's perspective, there's a great chance that you may be experiencing burnout. Where
Yeah.
you're getting to a
Managers
point
too.
where,
Yes. Very true,
yep,
Robbie.
yeah, and you create that culture. And if you're starting to do that, and I've been there, and that's ultimately when I made the decision to walk away, was I was losing my passion for what kept me in the job in the first place, which
Mm-hmm.
was
Mm,
bringing out the best version of people's selves in
Right.
their careers and really helping people to see their full potential. And when that conversation switched to this is what we're doing wrong, this is how we're going to fix it, and if we don't, this is what's going to happen.
mm,
And you go back in from that leadership mindset back into a manager mindset, and you have two choices. You do. The first choice is to walk away or to fix the problem. And so you have to make that conscious decision, what's best for you, but don't be afraid, like Greg said, to look yourself in the mirror. So just for the sake of time, if you're truly at your breaking point, do you guys have any tips for our listeners about exiting, exit strategies if you're truly at your breaking point? What can you do to get out of that situation?
Something extreme and become
Anybody?
viral.
mm. I sought therapy. I highly recommend therapy, and not just for issues of the workplace, but
Mhm.
definitely important if you're, um, working at a high level in management where you're over a large staff of people that are looking at you to be productive. I highly recommend therapy just to keep things refreshing, get things off of your chest, because ultimately we know that we'll never be able to say everything we think and feel at our jobs. But
Yeah.
I highly recommend therapy.
Yeah. I certainly agree with that. I'm a big advocate of that. Greg, what are your thoughts?
Likewise. I love that, Justin. The therapy part is very, 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 very important. And again, it's becoming more socially acceptable for mental breaks. And a couple things: quit if you need to. I'm not telling you to quit, but quit if you need to. And then also take your leave of absences that you can. You might have personal days, you might have FMLA. I was talking about your state's leave, if a state leave. All of that's covered with mental break as well. And
Mm-hmm.
sometimes you just need a break. Yeah, but you're going to say, "Oh yeah, I'm just taking this break," but it's going to be exactly the same when I return. Well, that's when you can start setting some boundaries too, like we were talking about earlier.
Or looking for a new job.
Well, I'm not going to say that. You should not be looking for a new job while you're on a medical leave.
Well, you can just be applying. You don't have to.
Okay, I hope y'all have me back because that topic that you just said, Greg, I could go for another hour. So write that down because the next time y'all have me on, I want to discuss that.
I was gonna say
Perfect.
it's
Perfect.
nice actually hearing from HR giving those suggestions because most HR companies they're not gonna tell you that there's a state program that you can take time off of work and still keep your job.
It
What
is
they say?
Absolutely.
it.
Clock that
Oh,
I love that. I love that. Justin, I'd like to ask you if you've got any tips for listeners for making your comeback story from burnout. I want this to end on a positive note. And obviously, I took the route of throwing my papers up like that meme where the guy's like, fuck this shit o'clock, and he walks
Yeah,
out. That's pretty, I did,
yeah.
I want to talk about your redemption story so we can give people hope that there is actually a way to redeem themselves and to be good in the workplace.
When I was starting to apply and look for different jobs, the first thing I wanted was something that was completely different. I wanted to be in a completely different environment because I didn't want to carry over any of that, regret, any of the pain, the hurt. I didn't want to carry that over. So definitely um, chose a different career. And
Mhm.
knowing that I'm in control of my destiny when it comes to a job or a career. So, kind of I mentioned, at this job that I'm working, I really am not so focused on being the superstar, standing out too much. I merely just want to go to work and do my job, and I think that's going to be good for this season. I know that
Mhm.
I'm going to eventually get back to being the
Yeah.
top manager. I'm going to eventually get back there, but give yourself a break. Give yourself
Mhm.
time
yeah.
to recoup. I could have easily went and jumped back into the same role. I'm highly qualified to do multiple jobs, but I chose and I did take a pay cut and I'm having to supplement it in different ways, but I made the choice to do something different to give myself time to fully recover from everything I went through in the burnout from my last job.
Nice,
Yeah.
Justin. Very, very nice.
Yeah. I think that that's important too because a lot of people have just ingrained in their minds that their entire goal is to stockpile as much cash as possible and just keep working towards that bigger pay raise, that bigger pay raise, that
Hmm.
bigger pay raise. And sometimes that's not always necessary to be satisfied with life.
Nope, not
You
always
know,
about the money.
Mm-mm.
so that's something that you really have to have a conversation with yourselves about to really come to that determination. But ultimately, I do think that that's a really that's really good feedback to give to our listeners. And thank you,
Mhm.
Justin, for giving that and coming on the show today. I want to ask you. I just want to do a roundtable fire off before we end things for the day. But I'm going to start with Greg. One thing that you wish you knew before you were burnt out earlier on before your HR career.
I said it and I'll say it again. Man, I love it. No, I'm just joking. I'll say it like I said it again. Boundaries.
Okay. Takeaway today from Greg is boundaries, which I'm a huge advocate for. So that's definitely yeah. I mean, I agree with you, Jesse. What is your big takeaway? One thing that you wish you knew before you actually experienced burnout.
Just the expectations and what the reality of the position that you're walking into. I think companies that have you interview with another person of the same position that you're applying for is a great way to do that. I mean, I would even suggest to request that. Hey, is there someone in your company that's on the same level of position that I'll be working in, or someone that works in the same department that I could meet with, so that you can actually get a realistic viewpoint of what you're walking into.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think that's important. I'm gonna ask Justin one thing that you wish you knew before you experienced burnout that would have changed the game for you potentially.
Change the game.
Having the courage and the proper way to look within myself and know that I ultimately can make the decision. You know,
Yeah.
we're pushed by different things that are needed in our lives, and I'll keep saying that over and over and over. Just knowing that I had the power to make the difference and make the change, and not wait for somebody else to help pull me out of it.
Yeah, I agree. I'm gonna say that my tip for what I wish I knew was your boss doesn't always know the law, and they may be breaking the law.
Oh,
So have an understanding.
1,000%, Robbie. 1,000%.
So make sure if something doesn't seem right, don't go directly to HR to find out. You need to go to your labor board, your state labor board, to find out, or you can even read the rules on the law. If something seems out of the ordinary, a simple Google search will make all the difference in the world. All the difference in the world.
Mm-hmm.
Now,
read those reviews.
if you've got Greg as HR, I believe that you could probably call Greg, and he would say, "Close the door," and probably give you the human answer that something may not be right, depending. That's a risk mitigation thing for HR. But no, I think that we had a really good conversation today. Thank you,
Yeah, I
gentlemen,
think it was really
for
great.
bringing the fire, bringing the heat, and making sure to have different perspectives. I do think that we're going to have to get an HR person on here so Greg doesn't always feel so cornered.
Yes. Please, somebody from HR. I'm
You're
bet.
my
No, I don't want to
only
bet you,
HR
but
you're my
I
only
want
fri-
somebody from HR to come on here and help me out.
You're my only HR friend, and that's by choice, Greg. So I just want you to know I will not be inviting because I don't know anybody that I'd be willing to send an invite to.
Yeah,
Needless to
I might have some
say,
people like that. I might have to look into my groups and see who would be willing to come.
Mm, mm.
well, let's talk about next week. We're going to be our episode for episode 7 is going to be leaving loudly. Is it ever smart? Woo! I've actually never done this. As loud as I am, as crazy as that sounds, like it just ain't mathin'. I've
Take a
actually
note
never
from
left.
Jesse's book.
No, do not take it up from Jesse's book. We're not even going to go there.
I think definitely Jesse's the subject matter expert on this particular episode.
I was
Absolutely.
gonna say
No, he is not. Not
is a
at
good-
all.
this is
We're
a good
gonna
segue
Greg and
into the
Jesse.
next.
We're gonna do a role play next week on next week's episode
Oh.
between the two of you, okay? And I'll be the umpire.
CC
no,
everybody.
I
Oh,
appreciate
I
everybody's
can't.
feedback today. Please send your stories about. I'm actually opening up a new email today. Send it to stories at your2val in the corner, bottom right hand corner down here. It's stories at your2val.com. We'd love to talk about some of the things that you've experienced. Please
Ooh,
send us your stories about
stories.
anything that you've experienced. Greg, what you
And is
got?
that with an IES, STORIES at
Yeah.
You can
the number two,
spell.
val.com?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, good. Just want to make sure.
Yeah.
Y'all are funny.
All right. All right, guys. Do you have anything before we close out for the day?
I wanted to send my much appreciation to Justin as our guest today. Thank you so much for coming on and sharing your experience. It's
Justin.
been a breath of fresh air to have you on, to say the least. Even though you're still laughing at HR and myself,
Yes, thanks for
I
being
know
on our
you're not
side.
doing it. No,
I say
know
we
it's.
add Justin to the group chat for the next 24 to 48
Oh,
hours.
I don't know. This is horrible. Um, but no, thank you so much, Justin, for coming on. I really appreciate it. It was nice hearing somebody else's voice other than these other two hosts, and so
Oh,
it's been great.
I appreciate y'all having me on, and it really actually helped me even more today to be able to kind of take a look back and
Mhm.
just help me kind of have framework for my next stepping stone. You know what I mean? So
That's
it's
awesome.
it's it's definitely helpful, and I think that people should have more of these conversations.
absolutely. Well, thanks for being on, Justin. Always a pleasure. And we'll definitely be sending you more invites in the future.
Absolutely. Y'all have a good one.
All right.
Thanks for
Hey,
listening,
take it
buddy.
easy, guys. Have a great
Bye,
day.
everyone. See y'all next time.